The receipt lay on the table like a silent accusation. Zero. Not $1. Not even spare change. Just a hollow space where hope mostly tried to live. For Marisol Hayes, standing in the middle of a bustling diner filled with the clatter of plates and the familiar smell of brewed coffee, that blank line felt heavier than the whole shift she'd worked. She drew in a slow breath, steadying herself, because this really wasn't about the money. It was about the quiet reminder that life hardly gives mercy to people already stretched beyond their limits. Before we dive into Marisol's story, if you believe in courtesy, in second chances, and in the quiet power of doing the right thing, take a moment to like this video, share with someone that needs a bit of hope today, and subscribe to Real Kindness Stories. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Marisol was 27 years old, a single mother doing everything she could to hold a fragile life from falling apart. She worked double shifts at a classic roadside diner just outside of Cedar Ridge, a town that seemed to exist somewhere between forgotten and overlooked. Her days began before sunrise when she'd pack snacks and coloring books for her 4-year-old daughter who spent the day with a kind neighbor, while Marisol poured coffee for strangers who rarely learned her name. Exhaustion clung to her like a second uniform, stitched invisibly into her apron. That afternoon had been particularly long. The lunch rush bled into late afternoon, and then he walked in. No announcement, no demand for attention. Yet something about his presence subtly shifted the room. He wore a tailored coat, moved with calm authority, and spoke politely, but sparingly. The name on the credit card slip later would read Grant Hollowell, a name Marisol didn't recognize, though much of the world did. A billionaire, though she wouldn't learn that until much later. To Marisol, he was just another customer. She treated him the way she treated everyone else. She refilled his coffee before he asked, delivered his meal exactly as ordered, checked on him one extra time because something in his faraway gaze gave her the sense that he needed more than food. He nodded, thanked her softly, ate in silence. When he finished, he set his utensils neatly together, slid out of the booth, and was gone without further word. When Marisol returned to clear the table, she saw the receipt. Total paid, tip $0. Her chest tightened, less in anger than with that too familiar sinking. Her mind went straight to the grocery list taped to her fridge, the school supplies she still needed to pick up, rent due in 10 days. She swallowed hard and reminded herself that kindness was never supposed to be transactional. As she wiped down the table and stacked the plate, something stopped her. The plate didn't glide smoothly. It caught on something beneath it. Marisol lifted it again, this time more slowly, and found a folded piece of paper tucked discreetly under the edge. Her name was written on it in careful script, just her first name. No explanation, no flourish. Her heart started to race, not from fear, but from a hushed curiosity that felt almost sacred. She waited until the end of the rush before opening it, hands shaking just enough to notice. Inside was a simple note. No big words, no empty praise, only observation. It spoke of how she balanced a child's drawing tucked into her apron pocket, how she spoke gently to each customer, how she carried herself with dignity, even on days which offered her very little in return. The final sentence made her sit down in the booth, breath caught in her throat. This is not a tip, it's an opportunity. Behind the note was a business card and a folded check. The number written on it blurred her vision, not because it was over top, but because it was exactly what she needed. Enough to cover rent, childcare, and just enough extra to breathe again. More than that, the card invited her to call. No pressure, no obligation. Just a door quietly left open. No promises were made. Just a door left ajar. That evening, Marisol went home carrying with her something she hadn't felt in a very long time. She held her daughter longer than she usually did, listening as she excitedly chattered on and on about the shapes she learned today. As Marisol tucked her into bed, a quiet, unfamiliar feeling blossomed in her chest. Possibility. The next morning, after she had dropped off her daughter, Marisol sat in the same parked car for almost 20 minutes, her hands resting on the steering wheel, heart racing. Time and again, she stared at the business card before finally dialing the number. When someone answered, they didn't rush her. They listened. Weeks rolled by, then months. Marisol didn't quit her job right away. Life didn't magically become transformed overnight. Instead, she gradually learned the truth behind the man who'd left the note. Grant Hollowell headed a foundation, small, town businesses, and overlooked potential. Still, he held the conviction that dignity did not come from handouts, but from work that actually meant something. The note hadn't been an obedience test. It was a test of awareness. Would she notice that which others overlooked, she had? With mentorship, training, and access to resources she never imagined possible, Marisol found herself discovering the strengths she never knew she had. She was naturally good at organizing, at leading, at getting people together. And eventually the owner of the diner noticed too, offering her more responsibility and trusting her judgment. With guidance and a modest grant from the foundation, Marisol helped modernize the diner's operations. What used to be just a stop on the road turned out to be, over time, something more. A community hub, a place that hired other parents juggling work and family, a place where people felt seen. Years later, Marisol stood in that same diner, brighter, noisier, filled with a whole lot of laughter. Her daughter sat confidently at the counter doing homework, safe and proud. Grant comes by once a year. He always chooses the same booth, always leaves no tip, just a note. Each a reminder to Marisol of a lesson she will never forget. The world doesn't always change loudly. Sometimes it changes quietly, slipped beneath a plate, waiting for someone who is paying attention. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Real Kindness Stories. Your support helps these stories reach people who need them. Before we end, we have one special request. Comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel, and tell us where you are watching from. Your words matter more than you know, because sometimes, what looks like nothing changes everything.